Hi everyone, it's November 17, 2012. I'm Dwight Schmuck. This is the Schmuck Look. And I was turning my eyes away there so I could, you put the camera down, the instructions and all that, because I wanted to read you something here. It was sent to me by a friend, and I read it twice yesterday. I read it again this morning, and the more I read it, the angrier I'm getting at certain stupid people. This one is a Dr. Leanna Johnson Poe, P-A-U-G-H, Paw, Poe, Puff, whatever. She's Canadian born, but now is an American citizen. At least she says it's her adopted country. I would suspect she moved here because of greed. Couldn't stand the Canadian socialized medical establishment because they limit how much a doctor can charge. Oh my, isn't that a damn shame? You're supposed to be in the health profession because you want to heal people, not because you want to suck their life savings out of their wallets and then leave them to die discarded by the wayside when they're too poor to get health care anymore. And this woman, I won't call her a lady, this woman actually wrote this obituary. It's called America Commits Suicide, and it was published in the Canadian Free Press, whatever the hell that is, and I don't care. I really don't. But here lies the United States of America, born July 4, 1776, died November 6, 2012, obviously the election day, and she's bitching about Obama and Obamacare. And I want to read this to you. The End of an Empire by Dr. Leanna Johnson Poe, Wednesday, November 7, 2012. Now, as I said, I just got it yesterday, but here we go. Our constitutional republic died a peaceful death on November 6, 2012, having reached the point of no return in a comatose state after years of progressive and illegal immigration assaults. The fabric of conservative society is now completely unraveled, and Uncle Sam's America is no more. The United States of America is now relegated to the dustbin of history as a has-been empire. The shining city on the hill, the hope of so many millions since July 4, 1776, no longer exists. What rises from the ashes is a country that few of us will recognize, like, or learn to accept submissively. After 236 years of existence, a new country emerges today, run by secular progressives who rejected our Constitution, what we stand for, and who we are as a nation. The Supreme Court will be forever altered after its last conservative members will be replaced by the liberal academics who call themselves progressives. The rule of law will be implemented by executive orders, making Congress irrelevant. And, parentheses here by me, pretty much those idiots are anyway. It's run by business and big bucks. You know it, I know it, we all know it. The doctor apparently is bitching about Obamacare. Oh, God, Obamacare. It will be the end of civilized society. Funny. The Canadians have socialized medicine, and I don't see them falling by the wayside. Anyway, the communist motto "forward" that resonated with so many ignorant Americans will plunge us into many years of darkness from which we will never be able to recover. We have proven our founding fathers right. They did give us a constitutional republic, and we were unable to maintain it. The forces of failed communist fundamental transformation that were driven underground in many places around the world resurfaced with a vengeance in the United States and have taken over. Let me scroll a little more here, okay? How long we still have the freedom of speech, movement, assembly, and control of our private property remains to be seen. Faith and churches will be driven underground, allowing secularism to prosper and take deep roots among the progressives whose God is Mother Earth. The welfare-dependent Americans, unions, and illegal aliens have chosen for the rest of us the dark path of serfdom to big government and to socialist utopia. Who would have guessed that the very people who were complaining that the government is not extricating them from disaster or giving them the help they needed in the aftermath of Hurricane Sandy would vote for the very politicians who turned their backs on needy Americans after the lights went dark when the political photo opportunities ended? Who would have guessed that Americans were as ignorant and irresponsible as to choose fiscal destruction over fiscal sanity for their children and grandchildren, secularism and communism over faith, dependence over personal responsibility and self-reliance? Americans have been protesting for the last 4 years the dismal state of the economy and the direction of our country, the corruption of our politicians, and the loss of personal and economic freedom. Again, parentheses here, because the good doctor must not have been here the last 20 years or so, because we've been bitching about it for at least that long. Probably, go back to Reagan. People were bitching about the government then, too. Funny, I seem to remember them bitching all the way back to Eisenhower. Prior to that, I wasn't born yet, so sorry. Anyway, back to the letter here, the obituary. Americans have been protesting, or I did that one. Rallies in support of conservatism overwhelmed venues for Mitt Romney, while rallies for our bumbling president became scarcer and scarcer. Yet miraculously, at the ballot box, our president won over all the country, all over the country. We lost seats in the Senate. Oh, can you imagine? Americans chose liars and cheats to be their senators and representatives, rejecting those who protected the Constitution. The candidate from Massachusetts, who claimed direct American Indian lineage to Pocahontas, is now a senator, having defeated Scott Brown, who, again, parentheses, who was certifiably a dumbass. Representative Alan West lost his seat by a narrow margin to the infamous Wasserman Schultz from Florida. Yeah, well, Al West was not what I'd call, the end-all and be-all either, okay? Americans chose high unemployment, reduction of our military, communist indoctrination of their children, and loss of personal freedoms unlike we have never seen before in this country. Yeah, well, the grammar there leaves a little to be desired, because if it's unlike what we've ever seen before, well, then we've probably seen it before. Think about it. I am saddened by the loss of millions and millions of American soldiers who have died to preserve freedoms, yet we lost it on November 6, 2012. Those buried in cemeteries around the world and at Arlington must be rolling in their graves today. No, they're probably laughing at this. We shamelessly allowed their sacrifice of blood and treasure to go in vain. We have no honor because we let down all the soldiers who fought in recent times and returned home limbless, with lives shattered from physical and mental wounds of war. Yeah, well, maybe cutting the VA benefits might have had something to do with that too. Doc, I mourn today the loss of my adopted country. Go the hell home, you dumb bitch. I have fought hard over the last 4 years to prevent its overt and accelerated destruction, but the darker forces, stronger than many of us, have overcome concerted efforts by millions of Americans to maintain the Republic. Mediocrity, sloth, godlessness, dependence, cowardice, using the law selectively or ignoring it. Gee, can you say Citizen United? And hopeless corruption will define the new country. Only God can save us now with His mercy and grace. Okay, it's obvious I don't like the doctor, and I'm pretty doggone sure she wouldn't like me. Now, let's turn this all the way back to the beginning here, okay? Because I would almost bet that this kind of diatribe is something like the higher British echelons, and I don't mean just the nobility, but those joy boys in the East Indian Trading Company probably said pretty much the same damn thing about Washington and Jefferson and Adams, and I'm pretty sure they didn't like Ben Franklin either. But, we're talking minor little details because in those days, those guys were progressive. Doc? Think about it. I bet you can think. I know you have 3 or 4 working synapses. Let's go a little further back than that, shall we? I can think of at least one guy, but I'm thinking particularly of one guy here who, espoused those socialist, communist things of healing the sick and feeding the poor. And, if you have 2 cloaks and you see a guy without a cloak, you give him one of yours so he can have a cloak to stay warm with. The Romans crucified him. Don't you remember that, doctor? You're so godly. You want to talk about God? God isn't there just for the rich, you damn fool. Yes, I'm a bit upset about this. The obit for her adopted country. Go the hell home. Go way up north, where it's just ice and snow and the occasional polar bear farts on you. Please, go. Because Dr. Leanna Poe, you're worthless as tits on a nun. You don't have compassion for your fellow man. All you really care about is your bank account. It obviously shows. It really does. You're bitching about Obamacare. Funny, the rest of the civilized world, and even some parts of the uncivilized world, have socialized medicine. You get sick, you go to the doctor. It's paid for. What's wrong with that picture? Not much as far as I can determine. Except, you couldn't have that 3rd or 4th mention, could you? And that would be wrong. Dr. Leanne Poe, go somewhere. Because I'm really sure there's a whole lot of real greedy pricks just like you. I've been listening to it now for 10 days, 11 days. Oh my God, they reelected Obama. How could they do that? Don't they know that the rich guy, what if he was the savior? Yeah, right. Why is it I don't believe that either? You want to talk about we've gone down the tubes because of Obama being reelected. No, not exactly. We've gone down the tubes because a whole bunch of greedy rich pricks decided it's time to shove it. Shove it up our asses and shove it down our throats. And they lost. And now you have this. I'm sorry, folks, but, come on now. It's really time to knock off the noise just a little bit here. It really is. Socialized medicine is something that, its time has come in this country. We will get rid of those worthless pricks at the insurance companies who take your money and then deny you the coverage that you thought you were paying for. And that, I guarantee you, is wrong. Think about it. You're paying a lot of money to this group over here, who then turns around and tells this group over here, the doctors, the AMA, well, no, we're not going to cover that, because if we cover that, our CEO won't get his big-ass bonus, and our shareholders, instead of making an exorbitant amount of interest on their shares, well, they'll have to take a little cut. The idiot in charge of Papa John's, the CEO, it's going to cost this much and then this much extra per pizza, and it works out to about a nickel extra per pizza to cover all of the employees, not just the top echelon of executives. And of course, it would be wrong to cover those people who actually make the money for you. Somewhere, somehow, someday, I'm going to get to go somewhere where it's sane. I just know it. You know, folks, it's really time to bring some sanity back to the question here. Do you really want to pay a bunch of highly paid do-nothings who aren't involved at all in your treatment, other than to deny you that treatment because you didn't pay them just quite enough this year, and you damn sure aren't going to pay them enough next year? But keep paying so they can keep denying. Yeah, somehow that makes sense. And about all those wounded, dead soldiers, you know, maybe if we quit that empire building, doctor, we wouldn't have quite so many. Of course, that means the money you've invested, and I don't know this for a fact, but I would almost make book on it. The good doctor probably has some stocks and bonds and stuff in the military-industrial sector. So she's making money off of killing. Like I said, you know, stop cutting the VA benefits. You might have something good, but again, that would be common people, regular working day Joes, actually getting treatment for protecting us. And that would also, according to the good doctor, be wrong. Dr. Poe, go. Please, Dr. Poe, go. I'm Dwight Schmuck. That's the Schmuck Look. Peace.